Welcome to Distrust and Disparities, Dismantling Black Health Disparities podcast. We examine health disparities that disproportionately affect Black women and Black families. In addition, we amplify organizations and individuals working to dismantle racist health practices and systems to improve health outcomes for marginalized communities. I'm your host, Jasmine Moore, a registered nurse, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Camille White.
You can always come back to you and what you need and prioritizing you and making sure that you can show up as the best version of you possible. In this episode, we reflect on this past year and discuss how we will pour into ourselves, this podcast, and our communities to prepare for the future.
Welcome back to another episode of Distrust and Disparities podcast. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us. We're here. We're excited. This will be our last episode of the month, and we're going to be coming back in February. So we'll be coming back for Black History Month, coming with another great episode. But, we're going to take a little time for ourselves, as everyone should. I already don't feel like working. I feel like as soon as it hit December, I did not feel like working. But, here I am,
Yeah. I feel like so many people feel that way. Or I've seen so many, posts on Instagram, like, all the other mammals go into hibernation. But we decided that let's still be productive in winter. Like the sun sets so early. Let's just take a nice long break. I get that certain things need to happen, but a lot of us can take a pause. A lot of us can and circle back later. Much later.
Right. Exactly. If you have the bandwidth to circle back, do. But unfortunately in healthcare, people always, are sick, always need things, but, we try when we can. It could look like not picking up extra shifts, just working your planned shifts, clocking out when it's time to clock out and, handing off to the next person because it's a continuous cycle, doing what you can. But here we are. And, we want to end this note on a positive note. We're going to keep positivity ahead of us, keep gratitude ahead of us because, we don't know where this world is headed. But we do know we plan to continue to do this podcast and, there will be material for us to talk about, We'll talk about what's going on currently, and we'll also talk about historical events as well. Continue to record ourselves for our listeners. It still shocks us that, we decided to record ourselves. We're going to be a part of the podcast era when people look back in time and we'll be there. Yeah. But first, we want to start off with thanking our listeners. Thank you for tuning in every first and third Friday. We appreciate it. We appreciate every like, every comment, every share, emails, for reaching out, for recommending guests. We appreciate it all. We are so thankful. Like whenever we log in to check like our listeners and our subscribers, like I'm still in shock that so many people like listen. So I am very thankful to everyone and that you guys show up to hear what we prepare for you. We put in a lot of work to make sure that we give you guys the most accurate information in a concise way. We're giving you our true opinions. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I have nothing more to add because you basically covered it all. But it is really nice and heartwarming to see that, people consistently come back and listen and they're learning stuff from us. And I feel like we're all learning together and it's just really cool. It's really cool that people actually want to tune in and hear like what we have to say, like not only learning about stuff they possibly didn't know about going on in this country, but then hearing our own opinion on it. Because that's really nice.
Yes. And I want to thank you, Camille, for agreeing to do this podcast with me, to editing the podcast, to showing up, all the technical stuff, the graphics, all that. That is Camille doing all the things, keeping us on track. Just I'm so glad you are down for this ride. Like, I really enjoy coming on here, talking to you, because when I first was doing this thinking about a podcast, I'm like, it's gonna be so weird. I'm just gonna be talking to myself. It's so weird. So I feel so much comfortable just talking to you, being able to bounce ideas off of you. You bring so much to the table, and I want to make sure I shout you out. Like, I'm so happy to be doing this with my best friend.
Oh, thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that you even like thought of me to do this with. And it is so much fun. It's like some of the things that we talk about all the time can be like depressing or upsetting, but it's just the format I think we've been able to find has been wonderful. And you research so much. Like, you are the pre-production, I'm post-production. And it's like there's so much that goes into, okay, you sit down and you find this topic and you look here and you're reading here and you're pulling this and you're pulling this and like, oh, that's a good quote. We should include that. And so it's like you are then able to take all these ideas and put it into a concise episode. So I really enjoy learning from you. And I'm just so appreciative that you like asked me to be a part of this. And like, yeah, we're continuing on this journey and like, we'll see where it goes. But it's been very fun. And like, I've learned stuff along the way, like not only about the topics we talk about, but just even how to do some of the editing stuff. I didn't know how to like edit audio before this. And it's just like, I figured it out and I'll continue to figure it out. Right. And like having sort of, I guess, like, not knowing those skills, but then because like you were like, hey, you want to do this? It's like, okay, we're figuring it out. These are moments when it's like when you have sort of that faith from someone else in you, like you can do things that you never thought you would do.
Yeah, and I'm excited. Like, we're both figuring things out. We're both on this journey. We have so much ideas and, it just comes together. Like, sometimes I'll be like all over the place. Like, the outline is a mess. So I'm like, quotes here, highlighted here, and then we just put it together. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. Do you get it? And I hope the audience sees how much work and energy we put into this podcast. Like, this is a creative outlet for us. And, we enjoy everyone that's along for this journey. So please continue to share, like our posts, listen, share our episodes, and feel free to shoot us emails, recommending any guests, recommending yourself. And also shout out to the listeners who have donated to our Buy Us a Coffee Fund, who, if you go to our website, if you checked out our website, we have a bookshop link where if you buy books through our bookshop link, we get like a small portion of the funds. And it also goes to support local bookstores and things like that. So, we use these funds to get the books, be able to pay for like the website subscription. So we really appreciate it. It all matters. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And just for our last episode, we just wanted to kind of talk about things that brought us joy this year, things that like inspired us, that uplifted us. Because a lot of times we focus on the negative things, we focus on the things that's draining us. But as we close out this year, let's focus on the things that really brought us joy, the things that we really uplifted our spirits. And like the first thing that really comes to mind for me, which is something that we did together, was going to the Well Read Black Girl Festival. So me and Camille and our other best friend from high school, Lori, we went to the Well Read Black Girl Festival this October. And it was really inspiring just to hear from other Black authors. Yeah. And also, I felt like it was just like a celebration of our friendship, just to get together. We have been friends for like 20 years. We also met up with our other friend from high school in Maryland. So it was just really nice for the four of us to get together and just catch up. And it was just wonderful. I don't know. I'm smiling.
It was.
We don't show y'all the video, but I'm smiling.
I'm smiling too. No, it was just a great time. And it was like the festival itself and like that day was so wonderful, like you said, to hear from different Black authors and the work that they're doing. And even, you know, getting books that like we can then talk about and discuss on the podcast later and possibly even have them as guests on the podcast. Yes. So like that was really great. That was really exciting. And then like we have friendships where it's like, even if we're physically not together all the time, we can pick up right where we left off. There's never any like weird awkwardness. It's just like, oh my God, hey, how are you? And then like, we're just immediately laughing over something that could be so ridiculous to other people, but we find to be the most hilarious. Like, I don't laugh as much as I do with y'all with like anybody else. And it always like rejuvenates me in a way that's just, I just love it so much. So yeah, spending time together at the Well Read Black Girl Festival and just like being together, the four of us was just, it was what I needed. It's like, we need to make sure we make that like a routine because it needs to happen a lot more.
Yes, I think that's great. Like we used to go to like festivals, like music festivals, Afropunk every summer. Mm-hmm. Festivals are becoming so expensive, but figuring out coming up with like a common event that we go to, or even just planning just to meet up at somebody's house and we can just kick back and chill. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like been a big thing, and just prioritizing community, being around those that uplift you, that inspire you, pouring into those, you know, just checking in. How are you doing? You know, it doesn't matter, but just really thinking about those who are in your life and, you know, just telling people like how much they matter to you, how much you love them. It really makes a difference. And, you know, I do have a quote. This year I've been going to like book events and like readings and just being in community with other Black women. So I went to see Tracy Hersey of the Nat Ministry. Like, that's the Nat Ministry rest. Always will be on that. So she happened to be in Harlem. She was at First Corinthians Church in Harlem. I'm probably saying that wrong, but a historical church in Harlem. And she released like a new book. I told myself I wasn't going to buy the book, but then I bought the book because it supported a Black bookstore. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get the book. After the activation, everything, I felt inspired. I needed the book. So the first page I actually turned to when I opened the book was this quote. And I'm going to read the quote. So it says, "Create community, build community, be community. Community care can seem impossible when you are exhausted. It is possible. Community is anywhere two or more are gathered. Two is still community. Don't rush to quantity as the marker of deep community and care. Don't rush to do anything alone. To be an escape artist is to be in the collective, supported in rest, care, and love. Demand the collective as a source of inspiration and change. Real change comes from the people." So when I pulled that, I was like, I know I have to read that, you know, need to put that up because that's so true. Like community is very, very important. Community and rest. I will forever preach that. Community and rest. And thinking of the Well Red Black Girl Festival, I was really inspired, like you said, by Hannah Nicole Jones, like putting this out into the universe. Would love to have her on the podcast, or would love to be at a conference she's speaking, in her presence. But she was saying, just study your craft, learn from those who came before us, the Angela Davis, Bell Hooks, Toni Morris, Octavia Butler. The same things that they were writing about and going through, I feel like is very present. We're still going through some of those same things. So using this podcast, this is our art. This is our narrative. So continuing to do this, figuring out how to get better at doing this, how to be inspired by other podcasters. But there's going to be, there already is so much going on. So it's just like, how can I channel this into my art, into the podcast, into the things that we talk about? How can I use this as fuel to make a change? Even if it's just coming on here, the way that I can process what's going on is by taking a step back, doing some research, and, having it inspire podcast episodes. Like we just talked about, like Medicaid expansion and healthcare. And now look at what's going on in the world. We have, the CEO being gunned down. And I'm like, this is crazy. But I'm also like, let me look into this. People are talking about claims being denied. So it's like, okay, episode inspired. Let's flesh this out. So that.
Yeah, no, having that episode and then having, the United Healthcare CEO be killed is... And I think, too, collectively, I think at least mainstream media wants to put out this sort of image that, everyone thinks that this is so terrible and so wrong, when I think a lot of people across the board of varying beliefs and the political spectrum are just like, but we're talking about the biggest insurance company that denied the most claims ever this year. And it's like, people are upset. People are dying. People are suffering from a system that has always been about profit, never about people. And it's like really looking more into that. And I think it would be a good episode to discuss, and like, honestly, multiple episodes, because like our healthcare system, we're able to talk about all the different things we've talked about because of how terrible the system is at large. And, these CEOs of these insurance companies are a big part of that. Like, you are all perpetuating an already terrible system that, takes advantage of people. We're the only country that people go into medical debt.
Right.
Like, that's something that like no one else deals with. Like, we're literally going into medical debt, or people avoid going to get the medical help assistance that they need because they know that they can't afford it. And they know that even if it's, nothing really bad happened and it was just this mild thing, they'll be hit with a ridiculous bill that then all of a sudden, like, having medical debt, having any sort of debt, then changes the trajectory of your life significantly. Now, all of a sudden, maybe you can't rent an apartment that you wanted to rent. You can't, you can't do so many things that then affect your life, that then will affect your health. And it's this whole cycle. So, I think the timing of that was really interesting.
Yeah. And, people select their jobs based off like the benefit package and things like that. And even now, like, people in supposedly so-called good jobs, they're noticing that that's the first thing companies are starting to chip away, because like the economy is bad and things like that. So those so-called benefits and perks are being taken away. But, then they want to lock people into like these crazy sign-on bonuses and stuff like that. It's just very weird. And it's also... like, people are talking about, this man was killed and his family and things. But, America has a history of, solving its problems with like violence. So, wow, you're thinking like, oh, how could this happen? But this is America, where you can go to Walmart, get a gun, where it's so lax to get guns and things like that. And people have access. And also, why don't we look at what's going on? You know, do we need to make changes to our healthcare system? Like, how can we fix a broken system where it continues to prioritize profit? So, you know, something needs to be done. You know, I'm not saying violence, but some things need to change. So, you know, we're talking about it. We're raising attention, raising awareness. You know, we see where the country is going. But we want to let people know that you don't have to stand by. You can use your voice to speak up, call out different things. You can protest, write letters, demand change, and, you know, the smallest way possible. You know, even people just sharing their story so that they know that they are not alone. People are going through this. It really makes a difference. So that's one of the reasons we continue to do this podcast. We want to uplift the narratives that's going on. We want to share people's stories, share organizations that are working to bring about change so that they can do this on a larger scale so that other people can be inspired. So that's just one of the things. Did you want to share anything, Camille? Highlight anything that brought you joy or anything that stands out?
I guess what I've been focusing on is even creating like my own little safe space within my home where I'm just like, you know, taking the time to like get artwork, and eventually like I'll have my bookshelves up that I will be making myself. So I can display those and have those and sort of like make a little nook and corner where like that's like just been really great for me, I guess. Focusing on just like decor stuff and then being very intentional with like artwork that I'm getting where I'm supporting Black artists, or even there's someone I follow on Instagram. They're a florist. Bloom and Plume, I think is their handle, but they have this little like series where they're just doing different stuff, and it's like capitalism doesn't care about your creativity. And I like spoke to me so much where I got a poster print of that and put that in my room, where it's like thinking about that constantly of it's, yes, we have to exist in this shitty capitalist system, but like we can continue to pour into ourselves in the various ways that like restore us, and know that like just because maybe we don't see a certain result or other people don't gauge it as being successful in a capitalist society doesn't mean that like we're not doing something important for ourselves, important for our communities, important for our friendships. So that's something that's like I can reflect on from this past year. That's been really nice.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, creating a safe space in your home and just doing things that you love, like hobbies, just tapping into stuff. And sometimes it just looks like sitting your ass down. Like, you know, just being able to have the freedom to just sit down, just to relax, to work on, you know, things like a podcast, hobbies, like even outside the podcasts, we both enjoy things like reading. For me, it was nice when we take a little break during the summer. I was taking like sewing classes. I was so excited. Taking my sewing classes and doing like little projects randomly, like going. I found some skates with Camille at the thrift store. So one Sunday, just like putting on skates and like skating on the basketball court, like Bambi. But, you know, just trying little hobbies, trying different things has been really like fun. And also things like traveling, just getting out, seeing the world. It's just really important. Those are like some of the things we do, like outside of this podcast and working.
Yeah.
And I guess the last thing, just talking about some things that we're looking forward to. I think in 2025, just continuing to prioritize myself and just like like we were just talking about, activities that just bring me joy. So just continuing to make myself a priority, not run myself ragged, sitting down, rest, like really make sure it's at the forefront instead of like when I'm just like so tired and burnt out, that's when I want to do it. Like, no, making sure I'm constantly checking in with myself and listening to my body and, taking time to relax, taking time to just do things that just bring me joy. And also just taking time to like breathe. Like sometimes I just catch myself just like so tense. So it's just like just taking a deep breath. It just makes a difference. Like my therapist, she says it all the time. Just breathe. Just let out a breath. She's like, let's just pause and just take a breath. Like sometimes it's like all you need to do. Like just take a breath. And I've been like observing like the psychiatrists that I work with, like sometimes like in frustrating moments, like I just know them like take a deep breath. And it's like, you know what? I need to channel that. Just take a deep meditating breath. Like,
yes.
So simple, but so needed.
If you are enjoying this episode, you should consider buying us a coffee. Yes, a coffee. That small gesture will help us continue to create quality episodes and content. Click the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes or check out our website at distrustanddisparities.com.
Yeah, I just feel like it's going to be a lot of nonsense, a lot of distractions going on, but, making sure that I am prioritizing myself and those things. I just saw, let me see if I can pull up this quote or this Instagram thing. Yeah, this was from the Well-Read Black Girls stories. So it says, uncommon advice. If you don't know what to pursue in life right now, pursue yourself. Pursue becoming the healthiest, happiest, most healed, most present, most confident version of yourself. Then the path will reveal itself.
Yeah, I saw that today and it was just like, I love that.
Right.
It's like if you don't really know sort of what direction to go in, it's just like you can always come back to you and what you need and prioritizing you and making sure that you can show up as the best version of you possible. And from there, it'll open up, it'll unfold before you of like, what should I do next? Because pouring into yourself is so important.
Yes. And it's sad that we have to constantly reiterate it. But, working in like a caring profession, we focus on others, even as like Black women, we focus on like other people's need, but really just like pouring into ourselves is what matters. And I know Nikki Giovanni, the acclaimed poet, she just passed and people were just like sharing like her quotes and just about her life. And we're saying from her that I had a screenshot that was shared over and over. It says, I hope I die warmed by the life I tried to live. So we have to live our lives, like do the things that we want to do, like get out of our own way, Can't let life get us down. Like we only have one life. So we truly have to live it to the best, like figure out what type of life you want, what you want out your life, and you live it. Like no matter what people say, like stand up for what you want, stand up for yourself. That makes a difference. And I know I'm being like the quote queen on here. Like I got all these screenshots. Camille, you want to read the the poems I have down at the bottom?
Yeah.
Or if you got some poems, if you got something you want to pull up, go ahead. Or if you want to spit something off the top of your dome, go ahead.
I'll stick to these. So one, and I feel like we've shared this like with each other, maybe even like cards or something that we've given to one another, but we love this by Audre Lorde. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation and that is an act of political warfare. So that great one. And then here's a final quote that Jasmine pulled from Toni Morrison. This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There is no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do language. That is how civilizations heal.
I think that sums it up. Like, we're just going to continue to pursue our passions, continue to pour into this podcast. And, we'll close once again. Like, thank you everyone for supporting us. Take the time that you need. Don't feel the need to like rush and do everything, but really just take the time just to reflect. Like, you made it this far. Clap for yourself.
Yes.
Clap.
Yes.
You made
it through 2024. That is worth celebrating in and of itself.
Right. Like, you're here. Like, I know like so many things. Like, I was just looking through some old papers. Like, dang, that happened here. So many things have happened. So, we're here. Like, let's laugh, let's celebrate, because, we're going to do this thing up. We're going to do this thing called life up.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is it. Thank you again. And we'll see you guys again in February. So check back in with us in February 2025.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Do you have recommendations for topics we should discuss about health disparities or injustices? Guests we should interview doing amazing health justice work? Or organizations we should highlight creating positive change for marginalized communities? Please visit us at distrustanddisparities.com or email us at distrustanddisparities@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn.